All right, trying to set this thing up right. I'll make this angle here. Hey guys, give me a second. I'm trying to get my little camera right here. I ain't done this in such a minute. I feel like my lighting is off. Does it feel like it's? Yeah. Hold on. There we go. Gotta get my lighting right. It's too bright. Hold on. Give me 1 second, y'all. Can you guys hear me? Can y'all hear me fine? All right, I'm turning myself up some. Can you hear me now? Is this mic on? Hey guys, how's my sound? How's my sound? Actually, you know what? I can figure it out myself. Hold on. Let's see. All right. How's my sound? Okay, I can hear myself. Cool. Give me 1 second, you guys. I'm coming right back. I just need to fix this lighting in the back because it's making me washed out. Let's see. This lighting here. Let's figure this thing out. And I need to make some tea. I'm coming, folks. Okay. Hey y'all. Okay, my bad. Sorry, my camera is. We're gonna get this right. Got my hair looking wild. Okay, so I don't like this lighting, y'all. I don't know what's going on here. Fix this little piece here. I got a little spot hanging. All right, this will just have to be our list. So, hey guys, let me go and check on. We got a lot of you guys already. Kayla, Desmond, D. I might skip some of y'all, so forgive me. Alan, hey, what's going on? Miss Pam, Melrose, Eric, Sam J, CB, Aaron, Dee, Adam. What is that? I'm blind. Scolated dragon. All right. Goodness. Yes, we are back live, Jeremiah. Purple Puffs. Perfect. I'm glad y'all can hear me because every time we do one of these lives, y'all be like, I couldn't hear nothing. Y'all had me up there talking for 2 hours. And I hope my thumbnail doesn't look crazy. One of the things that's really funny with YouTube is like, for anybody else who uploads videos, I'm super anxious about when the video goes live because I'm running to the edit button so I can change what the thumbnail looks like. That's my T. Because like anytime I upload a video, I forget that I'm very animated. And so all of the thumbnail pictures, when I first upload a video, you guys normally don't see them because I've already changed them by the time, a minute after they're live. Mine, I'm looking and I'm like, I was not doing that. When was I doing that? I'm like, Lord. Anyway, the thumbnail be having me looking crazy. So I'm gonna give it about 2 more minutes and then we'll jump into our topics. What I tried to do is I had made a post on the community page about different topics we could talk about. And so I pretty much wrote down everything you guys suggested, and then I'll kind of check in and out with the chat and see what other conversations we're having, and we will go from there. Hello, KO, new subby, welcome. Actually, there's been a lot of new subscribers, which is cool. I appreciate you guys following me. One of the cool things, shout out to, what's this girl's name on Twitter? I don't know if she's on right now. New Smith 723, shout out to you. So I got tagged in this post on Twitter maybe an hour ago. And so, with everything that's happening, there's a bunch of conversations in regards to some of the people protesting and some of the people kicking a few trash cans over. And so there was this individual who made this whole spill about pretty much black people always being violent and they need to fix the black on black crime and blah, 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 blah. The main talking points you always hear in regards to anything black and anything in line with police brutality. And so she literally took the video of the one that I did for Breonna Taylor and literally told the person, listen, go to this video, watch it 16 minutes and 51 seconds, and boom. And out of nowhere, like he actually went and watched it and then came back and was like, whoa, I totally had no idea. And he was talking about how, he had his kids watching it. And so next thing you know, he done followed me on Twitter. I don't know if I'm gonna follow him back, but, I was like, all right, so at least my message connected with one person. Hello, was it Thomasina Holmes? Shout out to Chicago. Ty Anders. You know what? I don't even know what Ty Anders is. I'm gonna have to Google it. I hope somebody can give me some insight about it as we go along. What do I think about the blackout day on July 7th? That's a good question. I'm gonna add it on here as well. July 7th. Okay, give me one more minute and then we're starting. Plus, I gotta go grab my tea. Hello, South Florida. Love from Philly. Hopefully you guys are all doing well. I know we haven't done a live in about a month, and there's been so many changes since the last live. It's a lot. I hope people are doing well. What kind of makes me wonder or worry is I wonder how many people who at least are subscribed are no longer here because of COVID-19. You know what I mean? Or who are sick. Because at this point, I think everybody knows somebody at least who's been affected, or everybody knows, somebody who may have lost somebody. It's getting closer to home for a lot of people. Let me see. I'm gonna read a few more. July 7th. I don't know why that was the specific day either. Noonie, I'm not sure. I literally just saw that post on Instagram maybe 10 minutes ago. Hello from Houston. Kayla Wims, hello. How do I feel about the riots? We'll talk about it. We're going to use some new words too. I don't really like calling everything a riot. Shout out to the DMV. Hey, that's my homes. All right. Is it an economic blackout or a social media blackout? I think it's an economic one from what I read. Let's see. Lake Charles on live. Shout out to Atlanta, Massachusetts. All right. Okay. Is we live, KNRB? Yes, we are. Thank you, Sunny. I appreciate it. Ty Anders, police traffic stop for allegedly rolling through a stop. Oh, that's the one in Texas with the grandma that had to stand in front of him so they wouldn't shoot him. Y'all, we about to have some good discussion today. Let me grab my tea out the microwave and we're starting. And don't judge me for putting it in the microwave. I forgot I had to do live today. All right. Yeah. I don't like using the microwave for tea, but I totally forgot I was I didn't forget I was doing live, but I was like, it's already 9 o'clock. All right, so let's go ahead and start. Also, somebody just wrote, Shamik Moore. I'm gonna get him too. Let me write that one. Look, I got 6 pages of stuff we're supposed to go through tonight. I don't know if we're gonna get through it all, but we're gonna try. So damn, and I just dropped all my papers. That's okay, because I numbered them. Okay, so first off, let us start with, y'all keep asking these questions. I'm trying to get the thing on. Are you back to work? How are your kids? So that's a good question. I'll start with that. Fortunately for me, I still have my job, but my job has been repurposed at the moment. I have not seen my kids physically since March 13th, which is such bad timing because I have 8 seniors that are graduating, and I had 6 that I was working with who they'd all gotten to college, and we were trying to map out, everything with housing, everything with making sure the classes they registered on time for, making sure they had the financial stuff together. And so with all of this happening, it changes everything. And I've had a lot of parents who've lost their jobs, and so now college is not a conversation for some of the kids, unfortunately. And some of the kids have jobs at the moment. And so what we're doing, at least for my centers, we're doing things virtually. We're trying to do what it is we can do, but it's tough. And even with the little kids, I feel bad for them because this is everybody's experiencing this, but this is something so unheard of. And it's hard to have a conversation with a 6 or 7-year-old and explain to them that they can't go outside. And this is why, or explain to them that, I know you, like my little cousin just had her birthday. She just turned 10 and, she couldn't have like a big party. And one of the crazy fact about that little cousin, she was born the same day within the hour that my grandma died in 2010. It's interesting how like in my family that always happens. I told you guys about my cousin Michaela that died on July 11th of last year. She died the same day as my dad within the same hour. So, or actually it was the it was the 12th over here. My father was pronounced dead on the 11th, but that was because he was on the West Coast. And so it was technically like 1:40 in the morning over here. And Michaela passed around the same time as well. All right, we got to get started, guys. And then I'll come back to the chat. First thing, we've kind of talked about George Floyd. If you haven't seen my 2 cents, you can watch the video I posted. Same thing with the Amy Cooper. But what I do want to say is it's interesting how you see the connection and the parallel between those two stories. And so a lot of people were trying to give me a hard time about what I said in regards to Amy, because they said you're too hard on her, or you lack empathy, or, you know, you recognize that you have a channel. It's not a large channel, but it's large enough to carry impact. And by you putting this video out and targeting her, you're making her life difficult. And it's kind of like, but on the flip side, have you not just seen, thank you. I don't know who just gave that 5, but thank you for that. D'Angelo. But literally, have you not just seen everything we witnessed in Minneapolis? And so I understand that for somebody like Amy, she's probably in a really crappy predicament at the moment because literally everybody is giving it to her. But at the same time, those actions could have equated in exactly what we saw with Minneapolis. Now, I've seen a lot of people say, well, F that dude, because he's already talking about, you know, you guys don't have to be that tough on her. I've forgiven her, blah, blah, blah. I get it. But for me, I think there's a conversation where you can receive an apology, but it doesn't mean you have to necessarily accept it. I think that's one of the parallels that always gets mixed up in society. You can receive an apology and hear it and understand it, but that doesn't mean that all of a sudden all is well. That's kind of where I'm at with that. She can apologize. I recognize she apologized, but, you know, I'm not Christian Cooper, but Christian Cooper, I think where he drops the ball in his approach to Amy is the fact that his experience is symbolic of everybody's experience within the Black collective. And so it's not an individualistic thing, because again, with her saying, I'm going to call the police and say there's an African-American man who's threatening my life and my dog. And you know how folks are about dogs. Literally, it's symbolic of what happens to Black people collectively when you're talking about police brutality. And so even though he may have been able to take himself out of the situation and say, you know, I've moved on and we don't have to do this, we don't have to do that. Cool for him. But it's still a part of a larger system that affects more people. And so it's not an individualistic argument. So he has all the right he wants to feel how he wants. But the reason there's so much outrage and the reason why so many people hopped on it is because, like, look what's happening. You just saw Minneapolis. We just saw Breonna Taylor. You just saw Ahmaud Arbery. You've seen so many people, and these are just the ones that are making the headlines. And so it's bigger than just Christian Cooper. You know, he's very well poised and diplomatic about his approach, and kudos to him if that's what he wants to do. But at the end of the day, if he were to, how do I say it? I don't want to say if he were to die, but if this were somebody else and they were pretty much, you know, taken out, long story short, they don't get the luxury to say, oh, you don't have to give her that much of a hard time. It is what it is. Like, I don't think people understand the complications that come with something like racism and police brutality. You can have all the feelings you want. It kind of goes back to when Pharrell Williams was on his New Blacks thing, and New Blacks don't spend their time mad about the past. They change their mindsets. And I was like, change your mindset? I was like, so I don't know, if I get pulled over and the police start beating me down on the sidewalk, if I start thinking about rainbows and Skittles, will I be let go? Which kind of ties into, who's the boy y'all were just talking about in the chat? What's the actor everybody's mad at right now? Shamik Moore? Same thing with him. You're seeing a lot of celebrities come out of the woodworks, and it's all of the, Shamik Moore, that's his name. They come out of the woodworks, and what's funny to me is that everybody's silent about everything, and people don't have a voice to say anything until somebody kicks a trash can over. Then they want to come out and police how everybody should feel. What I'm getting kind of tired of is there's kind of like this exceptional Negro syndrome that jumps out, where it's like, look at me. I can be the exceptional Negro that doesn't get mad when people who look like me get killed. And I can make everybody be comfortable. And I'm kind of like, no, that's just not the way this works. And again, you're a celebrity. I understand that your career path puts you in a lane where you can't shake the table if you want to anyway. But still, you don't get the luxury to police how people feel, how people respond. What you're seeing in Minneapolis, what you're seeing in LA, what you're starting to see in other cities, that is the result of being ignored. And when a collective of people have been ignored and their voices are not heard, then they resort to the next element. That's why when people keep saying the whole no justice, no peace, at this point, you're never seeing the justice. So people are like, well, I guess we're gonna have to do something else. What's plan B? And one of the things I want people to not get mixed up with is the fact that you have protesters, You have looters. You have people out there who also just like to go and hound and do a bunch of things. So what normally happens when these protests begin is that you normally have protesters who are out there for whatever reason they're out there, right? There's usually something that triggers a larger uprising, larger rebellion. People start acting and doing whatever they do. And then other groups of people flock in. And so what I saw interesting with the looting, people were like, black folks, they done tore that Target up, they done burned the Target down. But as I was looking at the clips, I said, it ain't just black people out here. I saw the white lady with the lamps running and going. I don't know if you saw the clip of the white dude that busted the window out the Planet Fitness and he was on the treadmill just going with his mask on. I was like, see, what happens is black people will pretty much shake the table. We'll start the conversation. We might even light the match. Other people take it and run. Or sometimes like literally we open the door and everybody runs through it. But then black people get blamed. I said, that's interesting. But again, when we're talking about, I guess, damaging property, when you're talking about burning things down, because this isn't the first time you've seen this conversation. You saw this in Baltimore when he talked about the CVS that got burned down. One of the things I think people keep forgetting is that for all of these riots, there's always a trigger. If you go back to 1991, 92 with the LA riots, when you go back to that corner of Florence and Normandy, the people were out there protesting because, of course, the officers that beat up Rodney King got off. There was no violence at the moment. People were frustrated. People were hot. And now, don't get me wrong, it was still going to go down because I think it had just, the country as a whole had just been sitting and bubbling over, just waiting. That's kind of where we're at right now. But when you talk about Florence and Normandy, what triggered what would be the LA riots that cost like $200 or $2 billion in damage? I forgot how much damage it was. You know, there was an escalation with the police in that neighborhood on that street. And it started from there. And then it grew and it spread and it spread. Same thing with Baltimore when you talk about 2014. When they were protesting about Freddie Gray, what was happening at the time that the riot began? You had the protesters that were coming out. You had the teenagers who had just got out of school. And at the same time, as that march was moving past, they moved past the Baltimore Orioles game that had just got out or it was in the middle of wrapping up. And the people who were fans at that baseball game kept trolling and bothering the protesters. That's what started a handful of fights. And then you fast forward, all it takes is one punch to be thrown. And again, if you have everything bubbling over, it just takes one punch. It takes one person to get knocked over or clubbed in the head by the police officer, and it just sets everything off. You know, it's almost like a beehive. And where, you know, if you stand next to a beehive, the bees are not going to bother you. I mean, you got some juices and berries in your hair or something. They might come around, see if you got something they can use. But you don't mess with the bees, you'll find. The minute you put that little finger and just poke the hive, whew, okay, that's literally how people are right now. When you have people that are hurt, where people feel that they've been ignored, nobody's listening, and you keep hearing the same hot air spewed out. And it's even going back to with Shamik Moore, and you keep hearing the things about, oh, well, there needs to be conversations. You know, we need to have more conversations. Violence is not the answer, or this is not how you do it. And it's funny because I'm like, people make petitions, y'all got something to say about it. People march, y'all got something to say about it. People make hashtags, Black Lives Matter, this, that, and the third. Say his name, say her name. People have something to say about it. People go and they come to some of these political rallies and they try to take over the stage and say, listen, this is the issue I have, blah, 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 blah. People still got something to say about it. People take a knee. People got something to say about it. Celebrities wear a t-shirt. I can't breathe. People got something to say about it. Celebrities post Black Lives Matter, and then the white fans get pissed off. Somebody has something to say. And so literally it's like, those are all the conversations there, but you didn't want to listen. And the other thing is, I can't speak for me as the pillar of communication or anything. I have a smaller channel, but listen, on this channel, at least for the little Calvin Michaels channel, or even back when it was still Calvin B 2006, for the last 10 years, we have been having the conversation. So the question becomes, how much conversation are we supposed to have? You know, and I think what that goes back into is what I said in the Ahmaud Arbery video, where people have a position that they play in systemic racism. So remember the story I talked about with the guy on Mount St. Helens, who, it was an older man, what's the man's name? Truman, Harry R. Truman. And so Harry R. Truman lived on Mount St. Helens. They knew the mountain was going to erupt. They kept telling him, get off, get off, get off. And he would not get off, and he died on the mountain. He just the way it's how it's always been, blah, 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 blah. That's how people are when it comes to protecting the current system that's in place. A lot of people who are afraid to really shake the table or call things out is because, one, they're comfortable with the way things are, and two, they don't know anything else anyway. This is all they know. And so anything that challenges the status quo is scary to them. And so when people are comfortable with what it is that they have, or the lifestyle that they've created for themselves, or what is familiar to them, what keeps them comfortable, which is what you're seeing with a lot of white Americans who do not like these conversations. We're messing up the level of comfort that they have at the moment. They don't want to be uncomfortable, especially not by somebody like me. How dare you? Who are you? And so that's kind of like what you're running into. Let me pause. Read some of the comments really quick. Oh, wait, actually, no, let me not pause for 1 second. One more thing. And going back to the bit with the riots and the protests, one of the things you've also seen, I'm not really someone who protests and marches anymore. I made a video about why I don't like to do it. But and really, I guess my 2 cents is more so when things first happen, I understand people gathering because people have emotions they need to get out. And it's kind of like, well, let's get together. You feel how I feel. We just need you. Sometimes you just need to get it out. Sometimes you just need to be around somebody who understands how you feel, somebody you can just be in solidarity with for that day and cool and everything like that. I support that bit. But going back, and then I guess my issue is that sometimes there's never any follow through. There's always all the people marching and everything. And then there's never follow up. There's never, because a lot of these organizations that lead these marches, they have plans and organizations and everything like that. And people don't really follow up. People don't go to the website. People don't donate. People don't go to any more meetings. People pretty much went to the march to get some Instagram pictures, get a photo op. Because now you're even seeing the performative wokeness is what I call it. I've seen at least 4 makeup gurus today on Instagram, I can't breathe. They got the makeup on their face, but 15 filters and this thing and the highlight or whatever people do with the makeup. I'm like, okay. Or even Madonna and sending her adoptive African son to go and dance to Michael Jackson. They don't care about us. And, I guess that's supposed to fix everything, I guess. But going back to what I was saying, with a lot of the marches, the ones that I had been to, I haven't been to one since like 2015, but all of those never erupted in any kind of violence. And they never did because one, everybody had a permit to do it. One of the things you notice is the the protests that end in violence or end in people uprising are the ones that are never approved by the city. And I think that's a conversation to have too, as well as the fact that even when you want to protest, somebody's trying to regulate how you do it. The fact that, it was like 2014, 2015. I went to one. It was like a Mike Brown one. I went to another one. I want to say, I don't remember who it was for. It was for somebody. But this was one where, the group has filled out the permit. The police know. The police are behind the people in the motorcycles parading and they're letting you block all the streets and everything, so on and so on. And there's no issues. You notice the state has a problem when people just show up unannounced and say, I'm pissed off. Because now there's no way to regulate because they don't know what people are going to do. And there's a fear there. That's why you saw Ferguson end up the way it did, because the police didn't know how to respond because it kind of just happened. There were some planned protests, but those early ones where people were really like getting laid out and rubber bullets and they had little robot things driving and pyrotechnics and tear gas and all that other stuff. The police will always show up overarmed when it comes to any kind of black protest because they don't know what black people are going to do. That's why they like to regulate and have permits and make sure that if you're going to protest, they want to know who the organizer is, this, that, and the third. They want it all to be laid out and controlled. And that's the only way you can really protest in this country without getting your head clobbered by the police. One of the perfect examples would be, so when the whole Black Lives Matter thing started to get its leverage and start to climb and everything, I remember seeing this post on social media. There was going to be a protest in LA. It was either LA or in the Bay. I want to say Oakland or LA, one of the two. And so this was a bunch of organizations that got together, like some white organizations, some other ones, all these random organizations. But the problem was they didn't have the same communication and they weren't on the same page in regards to what the march was about. And so one of the leaders of the white organization, this was one of the liberal groups that were, they're down with you until you start talking too black and they get scared and fall back. She makes this long post and she's like, listen, I just need everybody to know right now, this protest is only about police brutality. This is not a black power protest. This is not a black this, that we're not doing that. This is about police brutality of all citizens. And I said, I wouldn't want to be in that march. You know what I mean? Because even then, your voice gets silenced even in protest, which is why I think you have to be careful with who you allow into some spaces and with who you allow to give leadership positions to, because everybody's fight is not your fight. They may align. That's why when people do the whole thing about allies and stuff, for me, the ally's job is to go and advocate on your behalf in their community, not mine. I don't need an ally to tell me anything about being black because I'm already black. I've been black my whole life, been black since the 80s. So, I don't need you to tell me anything. You don't need to tell me what my approach is. You don't need to tell me anything, because even at the end of the day, no matter how much you respect what it is that I do, you benefit from the very system that I'm protesting, even if you're on my side. Like, have you guys seen, it's on YouTube, It was a clip of, it's the Phil Donahue show. It's from like 1991, maybe. I think either Farrakhan was on it or Khalil. No, it was Farrakhan. And so they're talking race. I think this was after Rodney King. They're talking race. They're talking all this. There's this white lady that gets on there with the microphone. She's pissed off, right? Livid. You done went and talked all that black people stuff on this show. You know, she done flew in from Nebraska with, you know, her girlfriends and everything. They thought they were gonna go to Phil Donahue and they were gonna get to watch, you know, the baby take its first steps, you know, because he was blind or something. I don't know. And so, you know, she gets the mic and she's like, I don't know what more you want from us. We have done backflips to make you people comfortable. Like, she was pissed about it. Like, and I don't know if she thought everybody was gonna say, you know what, you're right. Like, I'm sorry, we were just tripping. It was just, we're sorry, Susan. And so my question for her was like, but what are the backflips? Because for me, your definition of backflips is what? You were more tolerant of the fact that you could be in a room with black people and not clutch your purse? You know, what is your definition of backflips? Because for me, if you want to talk about some backflips for black folks, got me stuttering, I'm frustrated. For me, it would be, okay, most likely you have a little bit of something that most people don't because you were born into some kind of generational wealth accumulated on the backs of black oppression. So what are you willing to give up? You give up a little piece of something, and then we can talk about the backflips you've done. So far, you just did a cartwheel, and that's not hard to do. I'm not impressed. Anyway, let me check the chat for a minute. Oh, y'all are typing in here. Okay, I can't get to everything on here. I'm gonna just start here. Been black since 81, Michelle's daughter. 81 was a good year. Good year. I wasn't around yet. Tommy Lauren, did you guys see what? Let me address them too. So what we have to also do is everybody doesn't need a platform. A lot of these people, they're paid to say the things that they say, and they don't even believe half of what they say. Somebody like Tommy Lauren was a left-wing Democrat liberal a few years ago. Once she realized there was some money in spewing all the anti-black rhetoric and aligning with the crazy demographic of the country, boom, here's the money. Candace Owens, prime example. There's certain people I don't talk about on this channel because I don't want to give them a platform. Candace Owens, Diamond and Silk. Even though for me, the thing with Diamond and Silk is this is so off key, but like, I would like to be in a relationship that is as loyal and together as Diamond and Silk are when it comes to the loyalty they have to those two wigs. Because if you go and look at any picture from 2015 onward, they have had them same two wigs since before the election, and they have not changed. And I'm like, that is some dedication there. I need my relationship to be that strong. Okay. But anyway, going back to Diamond and Silk, you know, the issue with all of them, like, I don't give them a platform because their views don't align with mine, and I don't operate in chaos. But somebody like Candace Owens, if you've noticed, she pretty much, because she's aligned with a demographic that is not consistent with their viewpoints politically, because we recognize that there's a contradiction in any kind of social issue when it comes to race. She has to ride whatever wave her team is on. And that's why you keep seeing her contradict herself. And even at this point, white people are pissed off with her because they don't like what she said about George Floyd. They don't like what she said about Christian Cooper and the Amy Cooper situation. And so people like that, I don't give my energy to. They can spew out all the craziness they want to, but in reality, people didn't even really know who they were until other people gave them a platform. A lot of people never even heard of Candace Owens until Kanye brought her up, which is another conversation. And so there's some people I just don't follow. And I know some of y'all gonna be mad, like, you want to hear bashing black women. I'm not, because listen, at the end of the day, all skin folk ain't kinfolk. And for me, once you go over a boundary and you put the very collective in which you are a part of in danger, through policy, through legislation, through ordinance, even through public viewpoints and perspective, you are no longer a part of the collective in my eyes. You're in the way. You're being used as a tool. And so you're seeing a lot of people who are pretty much a mouthpiece for white supremacy and blackface trying to tell these viewpoints. If you look at somebody like Candace Owens, because the conversation would be, okay, they try to say she's a conservative. Can we talk about conservatism for a minute? I am not a conservative. However, I do recognize that conservatism within the black collective is not white conservatism. White conservatism is rooted in racism, and their idea is we like things the way they are. We don't want to change nothing. Black conservatism has always been something a little bit different, more so to the aspect where black people tend to be conservative on some things. We know that a lot of times the black collective, they're conservative when it comes to sexuality and gay marriage. That's a conversation where you will see a huge split within the black collective. There's a conservative effort when it comes to things like women's right to choose. When it comes to abortion, you see okay, what I mean? So Black conservatism, there are Black conservatives, but they don't align with white conservatives or a lot of times the Republican Party because they recognize that they have more leverage within the Democrat Party. And they recognize that also, you know, both parties are racist. But unfortunately, when you're talking about the demographics that reside in both pools, people aren't foolish enough to align with white supremacists in order to get their way, unfortunately. Or, you know, so that's where people are with that. And so I think Candace Owens, if you're going to try to put her in the box of she's a Black conservative, she's not the right representation y'all would want to have for that. Y'all might want to find somebody else. She's making y'all look crazy. Anyway, I didn't even get to say what I wanted to say. Okay, back to the chat. Oh, we got trolls today. Hey, trolls, what's up? Make sure you donate because I don't entertain y'all for free. Let me quit. Let me see. Yes. So extra blog. Exactly. All skin folk and kin folks. You have to know who you are and support the people who support your views. And by the way, you're not going to see Candace Owens in a few more years anyway. Like, real talk, once Cuckoo Man is up out of there, you're going to see a lot of people kind of fizzle out. Candace Owens is going to end up getting the Stacey Dash treatment. Yeah, I see it coming. I see it. And it's not just them, because there's some Black conservative men that are out there saying a bunch of foolishness as well. Just foolishness, foolery at its finest. Thank you. Is that AJ and 23? Tithing is for church. Curly, I don't know what. Okay, maybe that's. I don't know if they're dissing me or not, but okay. Oh, Mike Mack. Okay, that's okay. Well, Mike Mack is having a moment. Mike, you can go ahead and stay and learn something too. All right, moving on. Let me see. What else did I want to talk about? There's so much, y'all. We got a lot. Oh, some of you guys are asking me the whole bit with Joe Biden and the whole "you ain't Black" thing. All right, let's start with that fool. Okay, so the issue with Joe is this. There are people who get too comfortable in Black spaces and they think that they have leverage within that community and collective and think that they can just say any and everything and people are supposed to roll with them just because they may have presented themselves to be decent human beings and they think that they can do more than others can. And so some of that is, a lot of it is just perception of how things have been, because we have to also be transparent, because if we go back to like 2008, you had a lot of people talk about Uncle Joe and Uncle this and everything. And so he thought that he could just, he thought he had a seat at the table. And I don't think he's paid attention to how the conversations have shifted since 2008. And so he thought he could just go on the Breakfast Club and say whatever. And because that's one of the other things. You see a lot of what I call, again, performative wokeness. And especially when it comes to white politicians trying to win over the Black vote, they'll go out of there and start doing all kinds of things. That's why even in 2016, the idea was, okay, make the TV show rounds, go to Ellen, you got to go to Ellen, you got to go on the Breakfast Club, you got to do all these things and get the Black folks on and then, dance and boom, we're in there. Let's go. We got it. What I think Joe Biden should do is this. I think Joe Biden needs to be careful and he needs to recognize that at the moment, Black people collectively are not impressed with either party. They certainly aren't impressed with Republicans. Democrats, Black people recognize they have more leverage within the Democrat Party because, one, Republicans don't need the Black vote to win. A Democrat has not won the white vote since Johnson. And so Democrats recognize they need the Black vote. No ifs, ands, or buts. Without us, you're not getting up in there. And so I think Joe needs to be aware of that people are not impressed right now. So this is not the time to try to get in the good collective energy and try to be the homie next door. This isn't the time. And so I think him and his team, if you're trying to remedy whatever you have done, one, people need to know what actually is your plan. And I know people are going to say there's no perfect candidate. And why is it that Donald Trump gets to run around and do whatever he wants to do? And then the Democrats are held to these unreasonably high standards of everything they need to present in order to get that vote. It's not even that conversation. The conversation is more so the fact that, again, the Black vote is just not as guaranteed as it's been in the last few elections. And so as you're seeing the downward trend, people need to be aware of, hey, you can't keep ignoring a community forever. Eventually, they're going to get over it. Now, I do want to say this, because I saw that Diddy and some of these celebrities, all of a sudden, they want to have this conversation 5.5 months before the election. And my thing is like, where have y'all been this whole time? You don't get the luxury being one step from a billionaire to show up 5 months before the election, and then you want to shake the table. And I say that because, one, no matter what way the election goes, somebody like Diddy is going to be all right. He made that post about family. We got to have a family meeting. I was like, okay, let me go see what the family meeting is. And I clicked the thing, and the first person I see is Amy Schumer. I said, I had to stop. I stopped. I looked at. I was like, and then I got my phone. And I tried to redo the YouTube thing. Like, maybe I'm looking at the wrong video. Maybe this is something from. Maybe this was like a women's rights thing. Let me come back to this. And I went back. No, it's Amy Schumer, and they talking black people stuff. And she's talking about how she's learning. I'm like, well, good. If you're learning, then you don't need to be on the panel. The thing I have with and you got T.I. on there. You got these other people. The thing I have with all of these panels is this. For all the trash that I talk on my channel, all the videos I do in regards to black this, and I don't even think I carry the reins to lead a panel discussion on race in America, because there are scholars who this is their life's journey. There are people who do the work. There are leaders of organizations who go and do all of that. So if I don't even think I'm worthy enough to sit on a panel like that, what's Amy Schumer doing there? And what can she possibly tell me as a white woman who's wealthy living in America? What is she possibly going to tell me about this election? Like, really? So I can't. Like, we got to get out of the idea of giving celebrities so much leverage when it comes to politics. But I think also going back to this election, it's a hard decision for a lot of black people to make, because there's a lot of black people who've already made their decision. They said, we're not voting. We're going to do the down ballot. That's not me. I'm not in that category right now. But some are saying we're doing down ballot, which means we're not going to vote for the president, but we'll vote for all the other, all the other slots. We'll vote for everything else. We're going to skip the president because we want to make a point. There are some people who are like, we're Democrat no matter what. We're sticking with Joe. It is what it is. You have some who are Republican and they vote for Trump and stuff. But you have pretty much on everybody's minds, the things that I think people are thinking about is, one, no matter who is going to be president, that president gets to appoint long-term court judges. That's one of the main reasons why I'm really not trying to be an impulsive voter. I'm trying to be practical, because I'm recognizing that, like, even if I'm just talking about my field of work, this administration that's currently in has given my field of work hell. To be the director of a community center that's in a nonprofit that's also serving a Section 8 neighborhood where the kids also are on free summer lunch, there have been cuts to all of that. And so for me, I can't, as pissed off as I would like to be with somebody like Joe Biden, I can still challenge him, but still have him as a consideration. And I'm not saying that he is my ideal candidate, because he's not. If you've been following me since I started doing these lives, I've told you from the jump, I don't like none of them. I'm not impressed. And I also think that sometimes even a vote doesn't have to mean you agree with the person or you're happy with your vote. I'm not saying who I'm voting for, but I'm just saying, like, all of those things are things I have to think about. The fact that there's 100,000 people who are currently dead during a pandemic and the leadership we currently have is playing games. Those are things I have to think about. Even the fact that the leadership is currently so impulsive that you don't even know when they're going to randomly shoot off a missile at a random country. Like, when we're talking about the beginning of this year, for me living in DC, the last thing I want to wake up to is, hey, your president just shot some missiles in Iran. And then he posted this pixelated picture on Twitter. And he also was talking trash to North Korea and let them know, like, if they don't stop tripping, there will be fire and fury and power. I'm like, this is not the time. And so those are all things that I have to think about. So as pissed off as I may be with a lot of what the options are right now, I'm also not going to be an impulsive voter and vote just because I'm pissed off, because I have to think about my own kids later down the line and what does the future look like. And I also think, again, when you have leverage in a party, even if you're disappointed with the party, you hold the fire to their feet. And I know we're having this conversation about third party, and I do think third party can work, but I don't know if third party is set up in a way that it can work for 2020. I'm not telling you guys what to do. You do what works for you. But I think if you want to make if you want to make third party work, then you have to do the work now to set up for 2024, 2028, 2032. And I think that's why I was so hard on Bernie in the beginning before he dropped out, because it was kind of like, I wish Bernie would have gotten somebody younger to kind of lead the charge and have those same viewpoints and keep pushing, because as I said, Bernie, I knew nobody was going to put Bernie in. It just wasn't going to happen. But I think when you're talking about a third party candidate, if you want a third party candidate to work, I had to write this stuff down because I knew I was going to mess up half of this. First of all, you need numbers. The reason people go to third parties because, one, either they're disappointed and they're sick and disgusted with the two-party system, which we all know is trash, or they are pretty much primary members of a party, but they're disappointed with that party because that party sucks, or the party's ignoring them, or the party takes advantage of their vote. And so they go and you say, we want a third party. So I think if you really want a third party candidate to work, one, you need numbers. And I mean real numbers. I'm not talking about just people on Twitter and hashtags and people with an internet presence. I mean, you have to, and by the way, that's not a diss to anybody, because I'm just saying, but like, you have to have some tangible numbers. And what I mean by numbers is like, You would literally have to show up at the DNC or the RNC with a flash drive, and you have to say, listen, on this flash drive, when I plug this in, this is the name of 40 million people who are leaving your party if you don't do this, that, and the third. You know what I mean? You have to kind of have those conversations. That's the kind of stuff you have to get in the door. The reason the Democrats ignore third-party candidate people and everything like that, and the reason Republicans don't care is because, unfortunately, the numbers just haven't been there yet. And I say yet because I think this will be an interesting election to watch. I don't know how this one's going to turn out because, again, people are over it. Everybody's not going to keep playing the same business as usual games with some of these politicians that have been in office for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and things have gotten worse. Or things are the same old, and they give all this hot air, and they show up at the churches when it's time to vote, and they go to the black neighborhood, they go to Al Sharpton and eat at Sylvia's or Amy Roof's or whatever place they eat at, and they'll make a very general post about all people should be treated equally and police brutality must come to an end. We done seen through that, and you can only do that for so long before people are like, you know what, it is what it is, and so that's why you're seeing people not vote. And so, again, going back to what I was saying, so let's just say your idea is you wanted a third-party candidate in. The ideal for me, if you're really trying to push a third candidate that has a viable chance of winning, not just shaking the table, but winning, you'd have to prep for 8 to 12 years out now. And in the meantime, while you're building up that candidate to be ready, and mind you, they can still run every 4 years, but you're probably not setting the goal of them winning probably for at least another 8 to 12 years because, again, the general population of this country is comfortable. They're comfortable. They are afraid to shake and change anything. They're not going to step outside of the box unless they know that things are going to work out. And so while you're having that 8 to 12 year grace period, you need to put in as many candidates in these local positions, whether it's, the House, the Senate, the state Senate, the governor's positions, county supervisor, county sheriff, school board president, all of these people who represent the views that you would most likely want to have with your third party candidate. And the reason I say that is because time is something that tells a story. And so when you start getting all of these candidates in those bottom, I don't want to say bottom tier, but in those positions at the state level and at the local level, and the results kick in, if the results work, then the general public, those who are skittish, those who are afraid, those who I've been voting, just like the Mount St. Helens guy, I've been voting for this party for 50 years. I'm not changing it. Like, can we be honest? Sometimes when people go to an election and they look at that poll, they may only know who the presidential candidates are. They don't know who anybody else is, but they see that D or they see that R and they check. They don't even know who they voted for, but they just recognize that that's how loyal they are to the party. Those are the people you would have to also bring over and over in order for a third party candidate to work. So like I was saying, if you're doing this 8 to 12 year plan for a third party presidential candidate that actually could have a shot at winning, in the meantime, you're getting all these other people in local positions and they're doing the work and it's working. When the people start to see that, when people start to see this isn't too bad, actually, I kind of like this. I like this healthcare. I like this education. I like that I don't live in a food desert. I like that this is happening. I like that the politicians are listening to me. I like that the people have a voice. I like that the person who is in charge of my town lives in my neighborhood. They're not some millionaire that only comes to town when it's time for the election and they spend the rest of their time in Washington. You need all of that in there. That's you have to change the narrative and people have to see the difference. That's why third party has never worked in recent times because one, too many people are comfortable with what's already happening. And another thing I want to say, you need a lot of third party or you need a lot of people who have those visions of what it is that you want in those local positions because then they have support. Let's say that candidate is finally running for office in 2032. They have support in the House. They have support in the Senate because we've elected senators and congressmen who share those same views. And so it's not a good old boys club anymore. One of the things that worked against somebody like Bernie was he didn't have the support of anybody in the Democrat caucus or anything like that. Any of the party, they're like, nah, because it's kind of like establishment. Same thing on the Republican side. What was interesting on the Republican end was that Trump didn't really have any support from anybody within Congress and in the House and everything like that, and in the Senate. He had a few folks, but nobody was trying to support him. They would have easily taken Bush. They would have easily taken Paul. They would have taken Carly Fiona. They would have taken any of them over Trump. But the people were like, nope, we want something different, and they put that craziness in there. And so again, you have to give time to let these things come into fruition. So again, I just think people are comfortable. People are gonna stick with what they know. And as long as people can work in 2020, dang, I know my connection is not messing up. Am I still here? Apparently my connection is messing up. I don't know. Is my connection still going? Look, they trying to shut me up. See what happened? I think it's still going. Anyway, oh, it's still going. Good. Okay, so like I was saying, people are going to vote for what they're comfortable for. So again, if you really want to make third-party candidate work, you're doing the groundwork now. Find that viable candidate. That's what pissed me off with 2016 and 2020. You know how pissed off I get every time I turn on the news and I see that these are the options we have to vote for? I'll be like, man, you know what I mean? Like literally put the work in now so that when we fast forward 4, 8, 12 years from now, it's established. Because with that time period of that, tangibles are there. The tangibles are there. And don't get me wrong, I do think some of these conversations have been working. Because can we be honest? You have never heard a conversation about reparations in a political debate ever. It started in 2016. They weren't talking about it in 2012. They weren't talking about it in 2008. They weren't talking about it in 2004. The conversations are there. But conversations are just air. Until there are the tangibles, until you have the backing, it's kind of like boom. So like I said, start putting together who you want that candidate to be, get behind that candidate, make it happen. My connection is tripping right now. I can see myself like, I can see the latency. What the hell? Everything that aligns, start seeing the results, then they're not so skittish about joining. A lot of saying, I will not vote until this is, you know, boom, until y'all do this or you do that. Hold on, y'all might lose me because I think I'm about to shift my internet connection because this thing is tripping. Damn, how do I do this? Okay, I'm still on. This thing, they are trying to shut me up for real, huh? All right, back, baby, reconnect. I don't see my chat kicking in yet. Come on, come on. It's still storming outside. Look, y'all got me feeling like, come on, man. Is this thing still going? I might have to start this thing over. Dang, man, come on. Sit tight, folks. I'm gonna have to start this thing over. This is some bullshit. Okay. What's my connection doing? I don't see my chat moving at all. So what I'm gonna do is how we start this over and keep going from there. Let's do that. I feel like this is a versus all over again. Okay, we're gonna start over, folks. Yes, in stream.